my beautiful people. Bill and Ted Face the Music is the long-awaited third entry in the Bill and Ted trilogy. The film is about Bill and Ted, and basically we're trying to figure out which one of their songs will be the song that will unite the world. Well, 25 years after the events of Bill and Ted's bogus journey, and they still haven't figured out what it was. And to make things worse, there's a possibility that their wives will leave them. But the daughter of Rufus is from the first two movies, who's played by Kristen Shaw, comes to the present and takes Bill and Ted to the future. Basically, all reality as we know it is basically just gonna crumble up. All of space and time will just plummet. And all this crap is proven because various different historical figures from all across time are in the wrong places. Like you see people like Jesus and George Washington and Babe Ruth all over the place, and it's crazy. So Bill and Ted now have Bill and Ted have till 7:17 p.m. to write the song that will save the world, or else all hell will break loose. And I'm not just talking about the part of the movie where some of the characters go to hell. Now, I actually really enjoyed the Bill and Ted movies. I think they're wonderful, funny, silly little time travel comedies that anyone could enjoy. Sure, there's a bit of off-color humor in there, specifically when Bill and Ted would use specifically when Bill and Ted would use a gay slur. They do it once in the original, another once in the sequel, and not at all in this movie, so yay. But overall, I think that the Bill and Ted movies are really fun movies, and I like the fact that that Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey didn't do the thing that all the other sequels were doing at the time and just repeat the same plot. They actually did something different. It's really not the sequel, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, really isn't a time travel movie. It's more evil robot versions of Bill and Ted kill Bill and Ted, and then Bill and Ted go to hell, and they play a game of Battleship against the Grim Reaper, and they beat him, and then the Grim Reaper becomes a member of their band, so Death takes them to heaven to find the smartest beings in the universe, which are Martians, I'm pretty sure. And then they all head to Earth to defeat the evil robot versions of Bill and Ted with good robot versions, so that in a battle at the bands, the second movie's wild, y'all. And this movie does try to do a bit of its own thing too, while paying its own little homages to the original movie in particular. I guess you could say that's kind of a bit of a combo with the first two movies. We go back to time traveling, and they're much like the second movie. There's an evil robot trying to kill them, and the robot basically becomes the new Death of this movie, even though Death is in this movie just only for like a couple scenes, which Death is still funny in this movie, I will give it credit. And the part with Bill and Ted's daughters, who I totally believe that these are the daughters of Bill and Ted. They basically try to are recreating the first film pretty much, with them traveling back in time and getting various historical figures. This time they all have a specific theme. They're all all legendary musicians. Like we have Mozart, there's Louis Armstrong. Crap, those are all the ones I can remember. Basically, and they even get a random caveman who plays the drums. It's Bill and Ted. You're not supposed to. It's just stupid. Something that this film does that the other films didn't do is that we actually get to see alternate versions of Bill and Ted. Like, we get to see washed up, drunken, bitter versions of Bill and Ted. Well, really, Ted, to be honest. And we get to see fancy British snob versions of Bill and Ted. Well, it turns out it's the drunken, bitter versions of them dressed as British snobs just to scam themselves, pretty much. And we get the buffed up prison versions of Bill and Ted. Because they're alternate timelines, pretty much. Basically, oh, and I guess I forgot to mention that Bill and Ted think it will be too hard to just write the song themselves, so they just go back to the future to where they already wrote the song, and there you go, they'll get the song. But then again, if Bill and Ted never even wrote the song to begin with, then how would the future versions of them have the song? It's a bit of a paradox there. I guess it's kind of like the grandpa effect, where you travel back in time and kill your grandfather, then your grandfather would never have met your where you travel back in time to kill your grandfather before he met your grandmother, but there you go, he never gave birth to your parents, and they never had you. But by that logic, you wouldn't have existed to kill your grandfather, so it just creates a paradox. Yeah. But I guess paradoxes don't really exist in Bill and Ted. Bill and Ted pretty much just gives the middle finger to, like, Back to the Future, pretty much. Like, we could play with time travel if we want. We could bring Ben Franklin into the future to teach electricity if we want to. I mean, we could add 2 princesses from England back in, like, 1400s or whatever. Yeah, we could just bring them into modern day. Yeah, they can live there for the rest of their lives, forget their friends and family from back then. Yeah, it'll be fine. So, yeah, this movie is a lot of fun, and I did like the little nods and references that they did throughout the film. And Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter are great as always as Bill and Ted. And it's glad that Keanu Reeves has gotten a bit of a resurgence lately in actually having a personality. I believe it started with John Wick, but it really got popular last year with the announcement of the game he was in. Something 2070, not 7. It was something 2077. And the release of Toy Story 4, where you play Duke Kaboom. And now it's funny to look back at all of his old movies between the Bill and Ted and John Wick, and look at how boring he was. Like in films like Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Matrix movies, Constantine, and The Day the Earth Stood Still remake. Yeah, you remember? They made a remake of The Day the Earth Stood Still. I haven't seen it, but I assume it's trash, because they remade a classic movie for literally no reason aside green. But anyway, back on the subject of Bill and Ted. Yeah, they really did a great job revisiting these characters that I haven't played in over 25 years, with the exception of, like, random Super Bowl ads and whatnot. And their daughters, as I mentioned before, well, they did a really good job on pretty much just embodying Bill and Ted. Like, you do believe that these are the daughters of Bill and Ted. They're really good. And those historical musicians are a lot of fun too. A lot of really fun and silly. That's the thing about the first. That's the thing about the first movie, is that even with historical figures that we know were awful people like Billy the Kid and Genghis freaking Khan, they're still fun and silly, and you genuinely enjoy them alongside people who, we like Abraham Lincoln, Joan of Arc, and Beethoven. Or Beethoven probably might have done something terrible. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. Every musician nowadays. Yeah. So, you might be wondering, is this film worth it? We got to see Jesus play the cowbell, so this film is worth it in my book. I would recommend this for mainly people who enjoy the movies. You can watch this without prior knowledge and enjoy it quite fine, but I feel like it's really made for the true Bill and Ted fans. Because it really caps off the series really well. Bill and Ted have finally saved the universe, pretty much. They united the world. There really is no need for any other piece of Bill and Ted content to exist afterwards. Yeah, maybe you might have Keanu Reeves and Alice Winter reprise their roles in like a commercial or whatever, and maybe do like some comics or something like that. But in terms of more movies and another TV show, you don't need to do any more stuff after this. This is perfect. And end it right here. The Bill and Ted movie is a nice little trilogy with a couple TV shows. That's perfect. So it's a nice trilogy. It's the rarity with the trilogy where all the movies are equally fun and enjoyable, in my opinion. So, anyway, that is all I have for this video. What are your thoughts on Bill and Ted Face the Music? And sorry that this video came out 2 weeks after I saw the film. Well, not after I saw the film. After the film came out. But I didn't get to see it till a week after. The day it came out, I saw the New Mutants. Because it also came out that day. The New Mutants sucked.